everybody. Welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, July the 4th, 2020. Happy Independence Day to all of our American friends. We'll not be doing a full American-themed program today, except for the fact that it's always about America, really. Thanks to those of you who commented on and enjoyed our Canada Day special. It was our lowest rated show in months, so I don't know if, people don't like the Canadians. I don't know what the deal is. But I had a lot of fun putting that together. I hope some of you enjoyed watching it. It's been quite a week, several weeks in Las Vegas. A lot of people out and about for the 4th of July. A lot of news, so we're going to touch on a few of those topics here to start the show. Again, 4th of July weekend in Las Vegas, really the first big weekend since the casinos reopened in early June. And along those lines, we did see on Wednesday both the Mandalay Bay, Delano, Four Seasons Complex, and also Aria reopened. Despite continued rumors, I have not been able to confirm any additional casino openings. In fact, Station Casinos has mentioned keeping several more of their properties closed probably until next year. We have seen over the past couple of weeks a couple of prominent Las Vegas buffets reopen in a fashion of sorts. They do not allow you to go grab your food anymore. The Wynn Buffet has a basically all-you-can-eat format. You order off a menu and they just bring it to you. And the Cosmopolitan has, the Wicked Spoon has a little bit of a different take on it. You can go to the station and pick out your food, but then one of the employees gets it for you. So there's plenty of videos already up on YouTube. If you're not already following All You Can Vegas, Derek, he did a couple of pretty good extensive reviews and some of the pros and cons of both formats. Along those lines, we're also seeing, we'll bring up Cosmo and Wynn again, trying to repurpose their day clubs. For a couple of reasons. One, because you're in the heat of summer, there's a lot of demand for pool time. In fact, I had heard in the last couple of days that the Mandalay Bay pool was basically full by 11:30. They were not letting anyone else out there. So using some of that day club space to effectively spread out some of the pool crowd, and also, of course, they can still sell those really expensive drinks and so forth. So again, trying to adapt to the current situation. Along those lines, Vegas is crowded. People are beginning to wear masks. The governor was quite insistent a few days past that people were not complying with his order and threatening to reverse some of the openings of the past few weeks. That seems to have woken up casino executives that are being quite strict this weekend. I know I have seen some group polls this weekend from both the D and the Cosmopolitan, and the security people were quite diligent in making sure that people were wearing masks. The estimates I've seen is that the mask usage has probably risen from around 20-25% up to close to 90%. So that could be good news. On the other hand, even so, you see people not social distancing, which to me is probably a more important feature in terms of preventing the spread, not being so close together. People are close together. So, and when you talk about capacity, remember, these are like fire code capacity. Most of these pools or casinos never come anywhere near that number of people, so cutting that number in half doesn't really cut down the amount of traffic that you're likely to see. So hopefully we'll see some good news this week. There has been quite a spike in COVID cases in Nevada, in general, Las Vegas in particular. Some of that obviously a result of a lot of the casino employees being tested as they come back to work. I mean, there was no state in the nation whose economy dipped as much and had more people basically laid off for a period of over 2 months. So as they're bringing those employees back, in most cases they're being tested, particularly when they're in the hospitality business. And so undoubtedly that's having an impact on the number of cases. But certainly, again, people getting out and not necessarily being as careful as they should, also clearly having an impact. Fortunately, we have not seen anything that would indicate hospital capacity being taxed, and then the death rate has remained low. But of course, any deaths are really a tragedy. And that's all we're going to say about the COVID virus today. But hopefully all of my friends and colleagues who are in Las Vegas, be careful out there this weekend and beyond. Hope you're enjoying yourself. I know a couple of special friends of the program, Tamara and Gord, Vegas Best Ideas. They're going to be out there for over a week, as they tend to. So definitely take a look at their channel. They did a live stream last night, a group poll, and I think they're going to do one tonight for the 4th of July. They're listed in our list of friends of Vegas Tips and Tricks, so you can check that link below and click through to subscribe to them. But a lot of folks out there last night watching a live stream at the Cosmopolitan. It was an all-star cast of slot players and Vegas vloggers, and I suspect some of that is the concern that they want to get out there and get content right now while they can, because we do see a shutdown again, which has been rumored. The other day, the ever controversial Vital Vegas mentioned that the Venetian had plans to actually close voluntarily for a 10-day period after the 4th of July weekend, I suppose in the attempt to get some control over this, also possibly again to appease the governor and those who might seek to force closures, sort of getting ahead of the game. So whether that'll happen, whether this was a working proposition, anybody that's worked at all in corporate America can tell you that there's a lot of ideas that get floated out there, and sometimes they're sort of working plans, but things happen. So we'll see. Again, hopefully we'll see good news this week on the casino front. But good news or bad news, our friend PJ is always there to really brighten up our day with another one of his clever concoctions. So let's see what PJ is putting together in his bar today. And remember, PJ is not a professional bartender, but he tried this, and you can try it as well at home. PJ, take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cocktail of the Week with your host and not a professional bartender, PJ.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and John. John, thank you very much for another fantastic introduction to Cocktails of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing out there? Las Vegas is open. How about that? So, what we're going to talk about is a quick and easy drink. In your refrigerator right now, you probably have pineapple juice and orange juice. And if you have a bar at all, you're definitely going to have vodka as one of the most popular items in anybody's home bar. Well, today we're going to take those 3 ingredients, put them into one glass, and give you a very quick cocktail right here on Cocktail of the Week. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, and we'll put this puppy together. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and John and you too, we are back to put together the Aloha screwdriver. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put a couple of ice cubes in our glass. No, we're not putting them in our shaker, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to put them right in to our glass. Now, a lot of bars are going to make the drink directly into the glass. But what I like to do is, when I'm making my drinks at home, is I want them to mix up good. Instead of trying to stir them, we're going to dump them all in my shaker. So first thing we're going to do is 1.5 ounces of vodka, 2 ounces pineapple juice, 2 ounces of orange juice, all right, and then we're just going to give it just a stir, kind of. I just find this is easier than pouring it into the glass and stirring it up that way. So we're just going to do a little mix, And let's do a little mix on this side. Alrighty. Alrighty, now let's bring our star attraction in, which is going to be our rocks glass. Move these out of the way. And now, no, we don't need to do that either. We're just going to pour our 3 ingredients right into here. And we're going to cap this off with a little orange wedge, a floater. Yeah, we're going to do a floater. All right, ladies and gentlemen. A little spillage here. So I know this is a short, sweet episode of Cocktails of the Week, but hey, here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Aloha Screwdriver. Cheers, everybody. Now, let's taste this puppy. That's why it is so much better to mix the ingredients up and then pour it over ice. Vodka, orange juice, pineapple juice. You've tasted them all before. You're going to taste them all again. Still tastes fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aloha Screwdriver. As always, please, if you haven't already, leave a comment down there for John. Also, subscribe to John. Vegas Tips and Tricks. He has some great information. And of course, leave that all-important thumbs up. And do a little something for me, please, ladies and gentlemen. Drink responsibly. John, back to you and Vegas Tips and Tricks. Drink responsibly, everybody. Have a nice afternoon. Have a nice afternoon. Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, we're out of here.
All right. Thanks, PJ, for another tasty treat that you can all make at home. Don't forget to check out PJ's Cocktails, his own channel, where he concocts at least a couple of additional drinks every week. For our Vegas tip this week, we're continuing our series on comps. This week we're going to talk briefly about table games, because we rarely do, because frankly, I rarely play them. But table games involve more than slots, a human element, and you may be able to take advantage of that human element if you're clever, and make sure that you get the maximum amount of comps that you deserve, maybe even a little more than you deserve. These are not original ideas by any means, but they're sort of conventional wisdom. When you play a table game, and again, typically at a lot of casinos, you'll have to reach a certain minimum bet size for them to even want to rate you. Even downtown, probably at least $10 a hand, and on the strip mostly probably $25. So it sounds like a lot, but when you really sort of figure out how many times you're spinning a slot machine, it may not really be that much different. So you can give your card, the pit boss will take your card, take your information, and they rate your play, and basically they're rating the amount that you're betting. So one of the things you might want to do when the pit boss first takes your information is to bet a little higher than you might normally play. If you're setting at a $25 table, maybe you bet $50 a hand while the pit boss watches you, and then you might very well just get rated at $50 a hand, and then when he or she is busy looking at someone else, you drop back down to a lower bet size. Very conventional trick. How well does it work? I suppose it depends on how attentive the individual pit boss is, and that's going to have something to do with just that individual person and their personality, as well as how busy it is. And that brings us to trick number 2, play when it's busy. Now, of course, that's a little difficult now But if you set at a blackjack table and you play heads up against the dealer, the game is going to go very fast. If you're playing at a blackjack table with 6 other people, it's going to be much slower. But you're still going to get rated at a certain amount of dollars for a certain amount of time. So you want to play a game that's a little slower. Slow the game down and your rating generally will improve and will be probably higher than it normally would be. So that's another valuable tip. And of course, and I think we mentioned this a little bit last week, anytime you play table games, remember that you're playing with better odds. And so you shouldn't necessarily expect to get as much back in terms of comps playing blackjack, particularly 3-2 blackjack, as you would if you were grinding away on the Buffalo Gold machine for several hours. Even though you might think, oh my God, I'm risking $25, $50 a hand, and yeah, you can lose a lot of money really fast, but take it from those of us who play the slots, if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of money very fast doing that as well. So, some table game tips and tricks this week to keep in mind as you head back to your local casino or Las Vegas. Okay, we've held off the history segment to the very end today, and we're actually going to put the history segment at the very end of the show going forward, just because, it's kind of a little bit of an add-on. A little bit of a fun thing that I like to do, but if you're just here for kind of the news and the Vegas tip of the week, you can set through and watch that. You don't necessarily have to wait all the way to the end of the show for it. Secondly, I just want to say I've had a great time doing the, admittedly, somewhat limited research for the Vegas history segment. And we're going to kind of spin it off, at least for a one-time special. We'll see how that goes. But this Wednesday, I'm going to do a Vegas history special. It'll probably be about 15, 20, 25 minutes of me talking about Vegas history. If I get really ambitious, maybe I'll download a few stock photos and throw them in the midst so you get a picture of some of what I'm talking about. I've always been a kind of a history buff, I guess you could say. I always remember in 5th grade, our teacher asked all of us what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I lived in a fairly rural area, so there were a lot of people that said they wanted to be farmers, and some of them wanted to be, the traditional sort of policeman or fireman, or back then, astronaut. None of those were very auspicious. There were a couple of people whose answers seemed to throw the teacher a bit. The first was my friend Jerry Payne, who proudly announced that when he grew up, he wanted to be a playboy. At, 10, 11 years old? Well, the last I heard about Jerry, he was married with a oodle of kids, so I don't know if that worked out well for him. I said I wanted to be a historian. Well, that didn't really work out either. Even when I went to college, I didn't really even take any history courses at that point. But I retained an interest in history since I was younger. I had my Civil War buff period where I must have read 3 or 4 dozen books on the American Civil War. And as I've been studying for these little Vegas history segments, I've gotten more and more interested in that topic. So we are going to do, at least, like I said, a one-time special. If it goes over well, it might become a regular sort of monthly special that we'll do on Vegas history. That'll be coming up sometime this Wednesday. Today's segment, we're going to do a really short talking to you a little bit about the Golden Gate Hotel. It began life way back in 1906 as the Hotel Nevada. It was a pretty fancy place, perhaps not by our modern standards, but it was like the first fully concrete building in southern Nevada, or the first concrete hotel anywhere in the cities. 2 stories of palatial luxury for its era. It was clearly ahead of its time. It had got the very first phone number in Las Vegas, which back then was cleverly number 1. There was a casino there for a while, but in 1931, the state of Nevada actually outlawed, 1909, the state of Nevada outlawed gambling. Of course, it continued to happen, particularly at the nearby Northern Club, which was notorious, and of course would later evolve into La Bayou. About that. And that's now, of course, a part of Golden Gate. It would undergo a name change in the 30s to Sol Segev, which of course is really clever. It's Las Vegas pronounced backwards. It would operate as that hotel for quite some time, but the casino would be acquired and sort of themed, believe it or not, by a group of investors from the San Francisco Bay Area. They would, if you remember back in the day, there was the Bay City Diner, was inside Golden Gate, where you could get the shrimp cocktails. And to this day, you see, photographs on the wall, all with kind of a San Francisco theme. It's lost a little bit of that over the days, but of course, the name Golden Gate would imply that as well, but that's the origin of that. Eventually, the hotel would also become the Golden Gate, would undergo a number of transformations over the years, most recently, of course, absorbing La Bayou, as well as what was the Dupar's restaurant area to rather dramatically expand the size of the casino. So that's a little story about the Golden Gate with the tiny hotel rooms. They're small. Not that much smaller than some places, but there you go. So, all right, so be sure to join us on Wednesday for our Vegas History Special, and be sure to join us again next week when we will have another episode of Vegas Weekly. Until then, I hope that you have a great, lucky, and, as always, healthy week. We will see you soon.